Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm in the office. It's Monday, taking care of some business, making some calls, paying some bills. I want to talk about Taoism a little bit, but I have to talk about it from a backwards angle. You can't really just have a conversation about Taoism like you can about Buddhism or, say, Christianity or any of the other faiths, because one of the main tenets of Taoism is those who know don't say, and those who say don't know. People that usually go run their mouths about it and say, this is what it is, they're usually just running their mouth. They don't really know. So we kind of have to go around the block. And hopefully you can pick up the little coins along the way, you know, like in a game. There's a lot of people out there that are living a life they don't want to live. So let's talk about Wu Wei. It's spelled W-U-W-E-I, Wu Wei. It's kind of like go with the flow, but I think the direct translation would be non-action, but it's not apathy. When you say go with the flow, we're not talking about being a dead fish or being a leaf that's just floating down the river, some inanimate object. We're not trying to take the life out of you and turn you into an inanimate object, like you're a pinball in a machine just bouncing around. When we say go with the flow, you're not something floating on the water. You are the water. Imagine yourself as the stream. You're not on a raft, inner tubing down the stream. That's fun to do. I used to do that. You are the stream. A lot of people really aren't happy with their lives. They may say they are. They ask people, are you happy? Some people kind of juxtaposed happiness against suffering, and they say, well, I guess I'm not really suffering, so sure, I'm happy. That's not a bad way to look at things, I guess, you know, if you just reduce everything down to that. But yet, there's people that go around deeply dissatisfied with their lives, people that are angry all the time. I have people in my family like this. I've been this way. Chronic illnesses, depression that's lasted too long, like a bad taste in your mouth or like a smell in your house. You just can't seem to get rid of it. Weaknesses, triggers that constantly give me anxiety, and you end up living all your waking hours are in a perpetual state of discomfort, switching back and forth from guilt to shame to hatred to resentment, bitterness, the whole field of negativity. And not only do I know what that's like to live every waking hour like that, trying to go through the motions of relationships, of friendships, of hanging out with the buddies, of going to my job, of all that bullshit, all the while feeling this way. And then when you finally lay your head down at night to kind of go through your death ritual, because when you live like that, life feels like it's killing you, and every night you almost feel like that you're laying down in your coffin to die. At least it would be nice sometimes. It feels like to just not wake up painlessly and just drift off. At least in your dreams you can control stuff, or you can have fun, but when you live a torturous life, let me not use the word torturous, because that sounds like we're talking about someone who's suffering, deeply suffering. A slave child in a factory in China. No, this could just be you or your neighbor. This deeply dissatisfied life, fighting against life all the time, and you finally go to sleep and you can barely get 2 or 3 hours. Your bed isn't comfortable, your pillows aren't comfortable, you fight the whole night to get to a place of bliss that just doesn't exist, like a crackhead. A drug addict knows what I'm talking about. People ask me, I was a big crackhead, went back in the 80s. We used to rob motherfuckers for crack. Then we would rob drug dealers for crack. And people used to be like, oh, you rob drug dealers? Drug dealers ain't gangsters, motherfucker. They're pussies. we were gangsters. We went on robbery sprees for crack. Do crack all night long. Get lots of it. See how much we can do. You're chasing a high that you never really get the first time you do it. The very first time. Your first experiment where you're like, oh, I know I shouldn't try this. This is bad, but I'm going to do it. And you smoke your first rock. You get high as fuck. And after that, you never really get that high. You're always chasing this fantasy of what it used to be. I used to tell motherfuckers like this, the most high I ever got off crack was that feeling when I had it in my pocket. I just hooked up. I just went through whatever I went through to get the money, and then I hooked up, or maybe I robbed a crack dealer, but I got this shit, and I'm driving in my car on my way to a spot to go do it, whether it be at someone's house, or I've done it in an alleyway before. I've done it in the back of a fucking van with 12 people I don't even know. But that feeling of excitement, of I'm gonna go do it, I'm gonna go do it, that's as high as you're gonna get. As soon as you put that shit in the pipe, it's just, you gotta go get more money, get more drugs. Life can be this way with our happiness. You can be chasing just not even happiness, just satisfaction. Just to be able to just relax for a second. So I've painted the picture. Maybe you can relate to it. Life can be really grueling and mundane. I'm not talking about somebody who's being driven like an ox by an evil tyrant of a boss in a family. I'm talking about the mass majority of people out there in the world, in society, who have kind of just given up. They've lost their sense of humor. Jokes are no longer funny. Comedy, the art of comedy is dying. You can't go to a comedian without somebody getting offended, wanting to fight the comic. That never used to happen. People used to love the escape of entertainment, especially comedy. Now everybody's bringing their problems to the comedy show. People have lost their sense of wonder. You know that wonder where you're a kid and you can just sit there and look at stuff and be like, wow, I wonder. And just let your imagination go. People have lost that kind of inner child where you look at the world as playful and fascinating. And you can defend it, you can justify it, just like you're doing now, saying, well, but I went through this, that, and the other thing. We all have, man. We've all been through the ringer. I got all the scars to prove it. But we have to reclaim that inner child. Go searching for him or her. You know, it was weird when I started to do this. It's a visualization technique that you can do when you're meditating, and I did this. I went to go find, on a quest, inside my head, like the Lord of the Rings, to go find my inner child. Visualize it. Where are you? Are you in the woods? Are you in the city? Where are you going to find your inner child? Is it in your house? Are you going to go look in another room? Where is your inner child? Go find that motherfucker and rekindle that relationship. I found my inner child in an apartment, an old, fucked up apartment, sitting there alone. I looked in there and there he was. He recognized me right away. And when you find your inner child, just hang out with him. Do this as a meditation. Just hang out with him. Be in the same room. Talk to him. What have you been up to? Counsel him. Whatever that kid says, it's your job. You have a duty to to help that little kid see clearly, to laugh, to go do something fun with that little kid. Give him the best day he's ever had. As a thought experiment, you want to rekindle that relationship with your inner child, and you will be able to reconnect with an aspect of yourself, to an outlook that you may have given up on because of just the world that we live in. I started off talking about Taoism, and I wanted to talk about Wu Wei, go with the flow. And I ended up talking all about some stupid, ridiculous thought meditation of finding your inner child and having a conversation and hanging out with him. But what it's about is reconnecting with that spirit of giving in, of playing the game where you don't know the rules. You're willing to make the rules up as you go along. Kids can do this. And it's not scary, it's part of the fun. Rules in a game can be boring for a kid. And we're so beaten down by rules, by order, by this rat race. We've all turned into rats. Rats in a maze. That Bob Marley song, Rat Race, go listen to that. It's always a good tune. Bob Marley's a good dude. I got a lot of posters in my office. I don't know why I don't have a Bob Marley poster. Got mostly punk and metal. But you want to be the water, to be the stream. And wherever gravity takes you, you know, you look at a stream and there's little areas and jetties and whirlpools and obstacles, and it doesn't matter to the water. When you're thinking about it as being the leaf, what a boring trip that is. But the water's having the time of its life. I could go on with this kind of nonsense for a long time. I hope somebody understands what I'm vibing on. Thanks for watching.